Had something hit me that time. Shooting that small and something came up and fell down the back of my shirt. How nice. To use the slide release or not to use the slide release on a 1911. That's what I'm hoping to kind of discuss today. You can use the slide release or you can not use the slide release. It doesn't really matter. However, I will put one note down there. Number one, it doesn't hurt to use the slide release on a 1911. My recommended method in order to prevent you closing the slide before it's time, because a lot of people talk about the 1-2 click on their reloads. It can actually cause malfunctions. John Lavelle actually did that on his on one of his videos, talking about the 1-2 click and how you don't want to go too fast. Well, some people just can't help themselves and they want to live off of a timer because that's the operator thing to do, right? Well, I would say consistency is more your friend. So insert the magazine and then use the slide release if you're going to go that route. And then, of course, power stroking, obviously, or slingshotting. Slingshotting and power stroker are basically the same thing. It's just you're doing this instead of this. And I see a lot of new shooters when they're trying to rack the slide, they want to ease it forward. Here's the simplest way I can put this. If you have a slingshot, do you extend out and then push and then do this and throw the rock forward? No, you don't. You release it because you have tension on that the rubber band or something like that, and you have tension on the recoil spring. You let this do all the work. You let it shoot it into the chamber. So just let it go. Just let it go. It's okay. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and show you, the 3 different types of reloads: slingshotting, power stroking, and my slide release method. So anyways, we'll start off with the slide release method. That's what I'm most familiar with. That's what I like to do. So basically, go boom, and then, so it's pretty quick, and obviously it's pretty quick, pretty simple to do, and I just feel it. I don't have to look at the gun in order to find it. It's right there. It's nice and textured. It's basically right next to, it's right along where the grip is, so when you go up after releasing the magazine, it's right there. So very easy to find. No real reason not to these days. So the one caveat I will say with this, that's going to kind of extend this video a little bit, is I've actually owned this pistol before and I ran the hell out of it. So what I actually did is I was using the slide release method, or the slide stop method. Depending on how your 1911 is made, this is where I'm kind of gonna want to put my foot in, where I'm kind of putting my foot in my mouth on this method is, I was using that method so much that I actually wore this locking point right here where it actually locks in with the slide release. I actually wore that down to the point where it was actually hard to get the slide to lock to the rear sometimes unless I had a very strong magazine spring. So that's one thing that you might want to keep in mind, is that this might be a wear point on your 1911, so be careful about that. But typically these days it's not really going to be that big of a deal. Typically they're made in order to be used as a slide release. But now we'll go ahead and talk about slingshotting and all that other stuff. So basically I'll just switch this around, and so the slingshot method is obviously like a slingshot, so we're going to be doing it like this, like a sideways slingshot. So alright, so we're empty, and then we go up, turn, and we pull and release, and then we're back in it. So it's that simple. So would I recommend the slingshot method for anything other than reloading? No, because like if you're trying to clear malfunctions like a stovepipe or type 1, even if you have an empty chamber, I've actually seen plenty of people, like even with Glocks, I had a friend who charged his Glock and immediately caused a double feed because he had a weak magazine spring, and it was an actual double feed in the sense that the round hadn't gone off. There was no round in the chamber, and all he did was he racked the slide in this manner, and the round popped out of the magazine due to gravity, went into the chamber, and the next one tried to feed behind it. That's what can actually happen. So anyways, go ahead and get quiet on my rants here, and then I'll do the power stroke method. This is what I basically did all the time. After that kind of thing happened, I was kind of disenchanted about using the slide release or slide stop to set the slide forward. Now this is a more universal method, power stroking. It works for malfunctions, reloads, whatever. So basically you shoot, then you basically go over the top, and there you go. And I fumbled on that reload trying to find it. Go ahead and do the slingshot method. Basically, so it's that simple. Yes, it's going to take more time on the slingshot or power stroke method. It works with pretty much every gun. The power stroke method is going to be a little bit more reliable as far as, you getting in the habit. If you can't off to the side here while you're racking, that's probably better to use gravity to let the stuff fall out of the ejection port. That's the way I was taught, and maybe as you're racking, you actually cant it over, kind of throwing it out of there. It depends on what you want to do, but you can use any of these methods, but for the most part, just using the slide release is fine, keeping that caveat in mind. Depending on your 1911, you might not get too much life out of it, but if that ever does happen, I'm pretty sure you could get a gunsmith that could actually level that up or keep it nice and maintained. So anyways, other than that, I know it's a semi-rant video, but I hope you got a little bit out of that. Thanks a lot for watching. Go ahead and practice with your 1911. They're pretty sweet to shoot, pretty fun, and yeah, you guys have a good one. Oh, nice malfunction. Cool. Which one was this? Ooh, the tilting follower.